Cuties. We need to talk a little bit about Arc Raiders, and I've been playing the hell out of this game. I am enjoying this game a lot more than I expected I was going to, and I kind of wanted to start making some videos around it. So the first thing I want to talk about is going to be around talents. Now, I already destroyed my talent tree when I started playing the game, but after playing for I'm thinking like 40, 50 hours into the game at this point, I kind of crafted what I think is the best talent tree. Now, this might not be the perfect meta tree over time as people play the game more and more and more, but I would not be surprised if this is essentially more or less what the best nodes out of the tree are, just because there really are just some notable nodes that tend to be insanely powerful, and you kind of just pick up the best things you can along the way. But before we jump into it, if you're enjoying the content, be sure to like the video, follow my channel for more content, and check me out on Twitch because I'm live as we speak. Let's jump into this bad boy. So if you guys want to see the talent tree, there's going to be a link to it in the description box down below, but I want to talk a little bit about pathing and what I think is a priority and what everything does. But if you just want to look at the talent tree and just follow it, it is going to be linked in the description box. Now, the reason I wanted to make this is, like I said, my talent tree got absolutely obliterated because I went way too deep into mobility thinking that a bunch of these nodes were going to be good, but a lot of these nodes are useless. This node pretty much does nothing. This node pretty much does nothing. This node is complete bait. It requires you to actually be walking, so you have to click V for it to actually function. There are a ton of just absolutely useless nodes. So the first thing I want to go through if you're in the mobility tree, and this is what I would still recommend as your first set of nodes, is just grabbing 5 and 5, right? Increases max stamina, and moving around costs less stamina, meaning just pretty much whatever you're doing, sprinting, all that stuff, being reduced is super, 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 super important. Once that is done, you are done with the mobility tree. This is where you have to make some choices. I think no matter what you decide to do, whether you decide to go up the green tree first or the conditioning tree or the survival tree, I think getting this is super important. The reason for that is being able to craft bandages in raid is incredibly, incredibly valuable. In raids where you do a lot of PvE, especially raids where you do a lot of PvP, you are going to run out of bandages. You're going to just run out of healing in general. Being able to craft shield, being able to craft bandages is very, very important. So I would, no matter what, grab just 1 point here and use 3 points just to get the in-round crafting. I think it is just super, super valuable. Now, this is where you got to choose. Do you want to go all the way into survival and get security breach, or do you want to get a little bit of stuff in the conditioning tree? If you feel like you PvP a lot, I do think the conditioning tree is pretty solid, but it is a lot of levels, and you have to remember going for security breach is big value, and it's a lot of points to get there. So the reason conditioning could be nice is just for this node, right? Unbridled roll. If your shield breaks, your first dodge roll within a few seconds does not cost stamina. That's pretty important because the first time you get shot, or pretty much whenever you take damage from anyone, you are going to dodge roll away. That's just the reactive thing that you're going to do. And so getting this is super, super important. On top of that, breaching more quickly is very useful, and then making less noise when breaching is very important because realistically, guys, the only things that make noise in this game is shooting your gun, sprinting, and breaching. Those are the 3 things that make noise. Everything else is quite silent. So anything that affects those is really, really good. Personally, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't take these nodes right away. I'm a bit of a loot goblin, however. I would go just directly into the survival tree. The survival tree has pretty much the absolute best nodes in the game by far. So if you're going into this one first, you're going to put your points into agile crouch. You already have 2 points, or I guess 3 points invested because of in-round crafting. And then you just put into looter's instinct and silent scavenger. Now, I don't really think silent scavenger is going to be that impactful, but realistically, there's only 3 things that make noise in the game: sprinting, shooting, and looting. So mainly breaching, and I don't think this affects breaching because there is a breach node here. So this is going to be kind of a little bit of a dead node, but the stamina regeneration while crouching is completely useless. So you're going to be putting it there. When searching a container, loot is revealed faster. This obviously is useful because you spend a lot of time actually looting. Now, suffer in silence. This is again another dead node. You're just taking it because you need access to the upper part of the tree. But you want it because Broad Shoulders is, in my opinion, probably the second best, maybe the first best node in the entire skill tree. This is a very, very useful node. This gives you 10 extra kilos when it's maxed out of carry weight. That means when you are using a free loadout, you have 10 extra kilos. That means when you're using a combat, or let's say a combat MK or whatever it's called, the combat vest, you are getting an extra 10 kilos. This is big. Super heavy items tend to be around 5 kilos. Most heavy items tend to be around 2 to 3 kilos. So this is a lot of extra carry weight for your character. On top of that, Looter's Luck. Another amazing node. This is going to allow you to have a chance when you're looting to have a chance to reveal 2 nodes at once. So I'm going to be honest, guys, this happens all the time. You're killing bots, maybe you're killing players, and they die in the middle of the map, and you got to go loot them because you want what they have. This is pretty nice. The less time you spend in the looting interface, the better, because you are the most vulnerable when you're just hunched over on a UI and can't really do much on it, right? This is another very, very useful node. Now, the rest of this is kind of just like filling out the tree to get access to Security Breach. What I did is I still took Good as New, while under healing effects, stamina generation is increased. I mean, you know, whenever you're getting shot at, you probably just burned an entire stamina bar dodge rolling away and running away, and so regenerating faster is useful. Traveling Tinkerer, I find, is not the most useful thing in the world, and this part of the tree you can kind of play with whatever you think is best. This gives you the ability to craft, well, I guess it's more than just this, but the only item you'll care about is that you can craft Raider hatch keys. The thing is that Raider hatch keys require very specific styles of loot to open. And so unless you're like specifically looting like a rare electronics area, you are probably not going to have the item to craft it in raid. So it's something that's going to go kind of unused. Even though, in my opinion, this is a great, great node, this one probably a little less, but sometimes it will come in clutch. I'm sure there is going to be a ton of times when you're going to have advanced electronic parts and you'll be able to like craft a key. 1 Raider scraps. When looting Raider containers, you have a small chance of finding additional field crafted items. I don't think this is that great either. But again, it's just going back to the idea that you are just, you know, trying to fill out the tree. You could also put some nodes into this and reduce the nodes in this. You can kind of play around with it. You can even put some nodes here, take some nodes out of here. It really depends on what you want. After your abilities drain your stamina, you recover more quickly. I'm going to be honest, so far, every single thing I've tried that recovers stamina better, it's kind of shit. So I'm not too sure about that. And it's like, what does it consider abilities? Does that just consider your dodge roll and running around? Like, where does this get triggered? Where does it not get triggered? It's a little bit vague. But to be fair, this is not the greatest note either, so you could put some points into here instead if you wanted to. You could also do this, Stubborn Mule. Your stamina generation is less affected by being over-encumbered, but generally you don't want to be over-encumbered. Realistically, if you're in a situation where you have to use stamina while you're encumbered, you're probably dropping shit out of your inventory. Let's be real. You're going to just figure out beforehand what is the heaviest thing in your inventory, and the second you get shot at, you are going to drop that item and like just sprint and dodge roll out. Finally, you have access to Security Breach. This is the best node in the game. This allows you to open special lockers that can only be opened with this talent, which have spawns of like higher level weapons, purple weapons. Essentially, they are just insanely high value lockers, and you only have access to them if you get Security Breach. I messed up big time because I took a bunch of nodes in the mobility tree that I shouldn't have, and so by the time I get this, I'm going to probably be ready to prestige. But getting this early, I think, is going to be absolutely insane for most people's playthroughs. So getting that, you're going to feel really, really happy with it. And again, this whole tree, the whole survival tree, from even when I started playing, I felt is just super, super, super good. However, there is some gas in the conditioning tree. Now, the most straightforward thing I can say for this tree here is Gentle Pressure and Proficient Prayer. These 2 things make you loot a little faster, and they make it a little quieter. Again, breaching is probably one of the loudest things in the game, and so that getting reduced is kind of important, especially when you're breaching a big-ass container. You hear that shit from like any floor of any building the second you walk in. Hell, sometimes you hear it from outside. Breaching doors and containers, it takes less time. Again, less time looting, very, very important. The main synergy I want to like focus on here is this one. So Unburdened Roll, it makes it that when your shield breaks, your first dodge roll for a few seconds after does not cost stamina. And we have Fight or Flight. When you are hurt in combat, you regain a fixed amount of stamina, and it has a cooldown between uses. Now, I don't know how long the cooldown is, but these 2 things synergize pretty importantly. Because let's say you're sprinting through a field, you get shot at, you get 1 free dodge roll. You also are probably not going to be at full stamina, and so you get a boost of stamina right away, which means you can sprint dodge another time. So this allows you to kind of just like get under cover really, really, really quickly. These 2 talents, in my opinion, have some of the best synergy in the game outside of like maybe like these 2 and like these 2, right? The last thing here is Loaded Arms, and this I kind of put later on in the tree, and this depends where you value this, but I also think this is a very, very important talent. The reason for that is that your weapons weigh a ton. They're the heaviest thing that you carry, pretty much. I mean, maybe your rig is a bit more, but your weapons are very, very heavy, especially if you're going into raids with like assault rifles and like snipers, since you have like long range and close range taken care of. Your weapons are like 5 kilos each. They're pretty freaking heavy. And so having your equipped weapons not encumber you or not affect your encumbrance less means that you can carry out more loot. It's a pretty straightforward tree. Again, guys, this is not going to be a perfect tree. This is probably the best for right now. I think as people test more of these nodes, because a lot of the stuff is vague, I think as people also unlock more nodes, because every time you prestige, I believe you get like 5 extra skill points, this is probably going to change. However, I am pretty confident that this is more or less going to be the structure or the foundation for what will end up being the best way to build your talent tree, because everything else is pretty much fucking ass. However, this will probably change again because I am almost positive this tree is going to get buffed, because this makes no sense. This does nothing. This does nothing. What the fuck is this? There is just so many useless nodes in the mobility tree. So who knows, in the future, after balance changes, the mobility tree might become a lot more useful. I would even argue maybe not going so deep into the conditioning tree to get some of these higher nodes could be useful, but that requires a patch, because as it stands, the mobility tree is an absolute trap besides the first 2 nodes. So boys, I hope you found this helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, if you enjoyed the content, be sure to support me. I'll catch you guys next one. Have a wonderful rest of your day.